Okay, I think everything's going okay. We have another problem of the same kind. We have 15 and 21. We need a common denominator. So here's 21, and we need to count by 21s. 21, 42, 63, 84, 105. Well, 15 is not going into anything that ends in 1, 2, 3, or 4, so it's not these. Does 15 go into 105? Yes, it does. So this is our common denominator. 21 goes into it, and 15 goes into it. So draw a line. Put 105 underneath. Put 105 here. We're multiplying it, and here. Now divide this 15 here into 105. It goes 7 times. Divide 21 into 105, and it's going to go 5 times. And on this one, this is a negative here, so it has to go in front of the 5. So now, on the left side, 7 times x is 7x. 7 times a negative 5 is a negative 35. This is a negative 5 times x is a negative 5x. And a negative 5 times a negative 7 is a positive 35. Well, a positive 35 and a negative 35 cancels out. They're gone. And 7x minus 5x is 2x. And there's our answer. Then we're done with number 6. Number 7 is the same type of problem, but this time we have the denominators are algebra rather than numbers. If we have a binomial and a second binomial that are different, our common denominator is going to be both binomials. First one, 3x plus 2, I have to have that, and I have to have 6x minus 1, so I have both of them, just write them down separately like that. Now, this 3x plus 2 and this 3x plus 2 cancels out, so I have to take the 6x minus 1 here. I'm going to multiply that by the 4. On the left side, the 6x minus 1's cancel, so that leaves me with 3x plus 2 on top times the 5. So multiply. 4 times 6 is 24x. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. There's a negative here, put it with the 5. So that's gone. Negative 5 times 3 is a negative 15x. And negative 5 times 2 is a negative 10. Combine like terms. 24 minus 15 is 9x, and negative 4 and negative 10 is a negative 14. And that's our answer. We're done. Okay. Great. Same problem, same type of problem. Common denominator is going to be first binomial, 2x minus 5, times the second binomial, 4x plus 3. That's my common denominator. I've got the 2x minus 5 here, so I need the 4x plus 3 there, times the 6. On the right side, I've got 4x plus 3, so I need a 2x minus 5 times the 7, and the negative goes up there. So it looks like this. So now multiply. Over here on the left, 6 times 4x is 24x again. And 6 times 3 is a positive 18. Over here, negative 7 times 2 is a negative 14x. And the negative 7 times the negative 5 is a plus 35. Combine like terms. 24x minus 14x is 10x, and 18 and 35, they're both positive, so we're going to add them. So that is going to be 30, 40, 53. Positive 53. And we are done with that one. And that's your answer for number 8. Number 9. This time we have an equal sign. We look under the denominators of both x's. So I need a common denominator. It is going to be x. But because there's an equal sign, you do not draw the line and put the x underneath. You simply skip. Do not do this. Do not draw a line and put an x underneath. We don't do that. We skip it because there's an equal sign. When there's an equal sign, we don't do this. We simply say, what's my common denominator? X. And we simply put it on top. X. X on top, and x on top of 4. You must put the x on top of 4. Over here on the left, here, it's a fraction. The common denominator, one time. You get one x on top for the whole fraction. Okay, how big or small it is, each fraction gets one common denominator x. Now, this x on the bottom cancels with the common denominator x. They're gone. The x here in the middle, under the 35, cancels with the x on top. It's gone. And now, what's left? Well, here on the left side, you have 14 minus x equals 35 minus, and here you have 4 times x, so it's 4 times x. And now you simply solve. We're going to move the x's from this side to that side. We're going to get rid of the x's on the right, we're going to move them, and we're going to take the 14 on the left and move it to the right side. We want letters on the left side, numbers on the right side. So I'm moving the negative 4x, this one, so I need a positive 4x there, and a positive 4x here. I am moving the 14, this 14, moving it to the other side, so that's a negative 14 and a negative 14 on the other side. The 14s here cancel, and the 4x's over here cancel. So what's left here? 4x here. 4x minus 1x is 3x. Is equal to 35 minus 14 is 21. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 7. Okay, number 10. Again, the same thing. We got x's on the bottom, so our common denominator is x. We're going to put 1x on top of the fraction, 1x over the 9, and 1x over the 1. What cancels? This x here on the left bottom cancels with the 1 on top. The x underneath the 9 cancels with the x on top. And that's all that cancels. We're left with 3 plus x on the left equals 9 minus x minus 1x, or x minus x on the right. Okay? We're going to take the x on the right, this one, and move it over here. We're going to take the 3 on the left side and move it to the right side. Letters go to the left side. Numbers go to the right side. I get rid of the x, this one, by plus x's on both sides. Those are gone. I get rid of the 3 by going minus 3 on both sides. The 3's are gone. So what's left? X and x is 2x equals 9 minus 3 is 6. Divide by 2. X equals 3. Okay? Number 11. We're multiplying. We have numbers and letters. When we multiply the numbers in front, which is 3 and 5, you simply multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. When you multiply letters, we're going to multiply the x's. This one and this one. What do we do when we multiply x's, letters? We add exponents. We put the x down and we add 2, this 2, and a negative 6. 2 plus a negative 6 is a negative 4. That's what our exponent is. Now we do y. Y has a negative 2. And we're going to add it to 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. If they don't say anything about positive exponents, you can leave that for an answer. If they say positive exponents, or you can just do it, I don't care which one you have, you cannot have, if it says positive exponents, That one you can't have. So the 15 stays on top, the y squared stays on top, but the x goes to the bottom, and the negative 4 changes signs and becomes a positive 4 on the bottom. And we end up with 15y squared over x to the 4th. Number 12. Again, the same thing. We'll multiply the number in front times the number in front. 3 times 7 is 35. How many x's do I have? I have to add the exponents. I'm adding this one and this one. 5 and a negative 3 is a positive 2. How many y? And I go with my y's. What do I have for y's? I have 4 and a negative 7 is a negative 3. I don't want negatives, so this one has to go. So the 35 stays on top. The x squared stays on top. That's an x over there to the right. It's just a funny symbol that Pop shows. And then the y cubed goes on the bottom, and the negative becomes a positive. It's y cubed on the bottom. And we have our answer for number 12. Now, we go to 13. Radicals. Well, we have the square root of 24. The first thing to do is we're going to take 24 and break it down. We're going to use 2, 3, and 5. Nothing but prime numbers. So what goes into 24? Well, 2 does. How many times? 12. What goes into 12? 2 does. How many times? 6. What goes into 6? 2. 3 times. So we get that. Now, if you started with 3, it's not a problem. You simply would have the 3 on top, and then you'd have the 2's underneath it. You'd have a 3, and then 2, 2, 2. So it doesn't matter which one you start with. The numbers will still come out to be the same. Now you circle pairs. Well, I have a pair of 2's. And that's the only pair I have. The pair of 2's comes out one time and goes on top of the number out here, which now gives me a negative. 2 times 2 is 4 over 3, square root of 2 and 3 are not circled. They're not circled. They're in a box. They're not a pair. So they're there, and 2 times 3 is 6, and the 6 goes inside. And that's our answer. Right here. Okay, number 13. Again, same idea. We got 27. What goes into 27? Prime numbers only. 3, 9, 3, 3. There's a pair of 3's. The 3 comes out here. It's 3 times 8. So I end up with a square root. What's left inside? That 3. What's outside? Well, what I have here is I have 3 times 8, right? But the 3 and the 9 reduce down. What goes into both? 3. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So we end up with 8 over 3 for a fraction outside. And there is our answer. Now we do the same thing on 15. Except it's cubed this time. Instead of a square root, we got cube root. We do it the same way. We take 32 and break it down. What prime number goes into 32? Cannot use 4, 8, 16. Don't work because they're not prime. The only thing that works as prime is 2. Goes in 16 times, 2 goes in 8 times, 2 goes in 4 times, and 2 goes into 4 twice. Now, because it's cubed, you don't circle pairs, you circle 3 at a time. When it's a square root, you circle 2. When it's a cube root, you circle 3. If it's the 4th root, you circle 4. So I'm circling 3 at a time, there it is, and you do exactly what you did with it. This is a set of 2's. It goes out here one time. 1, 2 goes out. So now I have a negative. 2 times 5 is 10. Radical sign. We're still doing cube root. And what's not circled? 2 times 2. So that's 4. Not just right here, okay. Not that. It's just this part right here. It's not so that we don't have 3 of them. So So it's 2 times 2 is 4 inside, and there's our answer. And another one, cubed also, 108. All right, what goes into 108? 2 does. Goes in 54 times. 2 goes into 54, 27 times. 3 goes into 27 9 times, and 3 goes into 3 times. There is a pair. Change the color. This is not a pair, so you cannot circle it. What's circled? A pair, a group of 3 threes. So that 3 comes out and goes out here in front, one of them. So that's 3 times 4 is 12. Radical, cubed, and what's not circled? 2 times 2, which is 4. That's how we do the cubes. We have to add these together, or in this case, subtract them. So we have to simplify. Take 40 and break it down. What goes with the 40? 2, 20 times, 2, 10 times, 2, 5 times. A pair of 2s. The pair of 2s comes out and goes here. So 2 times 3 is 6 times the square root of what's not circled. 2 times 5 is 10. That's the first part. Second one, we have a 90. Break it down. What goes into 90? 3, 30 times, 3, 10 times, 2 times 5 with a pair of 3s. That pair of 3s comes here because we're working with this problem. So there's a 3. So I have a negative. 3 times 5 is 15. Times the square root of, what's not circled? 2 times 5, which is 10. Now, are these like radicals? Is the number inside this radical sign the same as the one inside this radical sign? Yes. Then they're alike, so I can take the numbers outside the radical signs and add them. What is 6 plus a negative 15? Negative 9. And the square root of 10 stays. You only add or subtract the numbers outside. You don't add or subtract the numbers inside. So it's a negative 9 times the square root of 10. Number 18 is, we have an 18, we have a 50, let's do that. It's 5, 10, 2, 5 times 2. Want to do the same number until it doesn't work anymore. 18 is 2, which is 9, which is 3, and 3. So this has a pair of 3s. Goes here. 3 times 2 is 6 times the square root of what's not circled? That 2. So I get that. Minus. Here's a pair of 5s. So they're going here with the 6. 5 times 6 is 30. What's not circled? A 2. Square root of 2. Are the radical signs, the numbers inside the radical the same? Yes. So I keep the square root of 2 and I add the numbers in front. What is 6 plus a negative 30? Negative 24. Okay, now we're multiplying radicals. We're going to use FOIL. We simply take the first one times the first one. Now, the long way is, what's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? What's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? Take the first one times the last one, the outside ones. That's a negative 20 from the right side times the square root of 3. Multiply the 2 inside, that's a positive 7 square root of 3. And then multiply the 7 times the negative 20, which is a negative 140. Now combine like terms. Well, which was it? What is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? Just plain 3. Now take the 3 times the negative 140 is a negative 137. Take the negative 20 is a positive 7. These are like radicals, so I can add the numbers in front. A negative 20 plus 7 is a negative 13 square roots of 3. And there's my answer for number 19. Number 20, same thing. We're going to multiply the square root of 6 times the square root of 7. Now, again, you can do, what is the square root of 6 times the square root of 7? You know, it's the square root of 6 times the square root of 7, which is the square root of 42. Then take the square root of 6 times the square root of 2. It's a negative. What's the square root of 6 times the square root of 2? Square root of 12. Now take square root of 2 times the square root of 7. That's positive square root of 14. And then take the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, which is a negative. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. Now, we're almost done, except this one can be simplified. It has, you have pairs. You got to make sure you don't have any pairs. Do I have pairs inside 14? No. It is 2 times 7. Do I have pairs inside of 42? No. It's 6 times 7, and 6 is 2 times 3 times 7. But 12 is 2, 6, 2, 3, so there's a pair of 2's. So the 2 comes outside, and I have a square root of 3 inside. That's what 12 is. So my answer is the square root of 42 minus 2 times the square root of 3 plus the square root of 14 minus 2. That's our answer. Sometimes they combine, sometimes they don't. Okay, 21, same basic idea. Now this one I'm going to really take a little longer to help make sure you get it. It's this one times this one. So I'm going to take the 4 times the 3, that's 12, times the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. But the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2, so 2 times 12 is 24. Got that? Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2, and that 2 times the 12 over here gives me a total of 24. That's the first number. Now I'm taking the outside. 4 here on the left times the 9 gives me a negative 36 times the square root of 2 times 5 is 10. So this is a negative 36 square roots of 10. Take the 2 in the middle. 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 5 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 10. So this is a positive 9 square root of 10. And then we're taking the last one times the last one. The number outside is 3 times, the number outside is 9, so it's 3 times 9 is a negative 27 times square root of 5 times the square root of 5. What's 5 times square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5, and 5 times 27 is a negative 135. What can I combine? The 2 outside. What's 24 minus 135? That's a negative 111. And what is 9 and a negative 36? Because the 10s are the same. So what's 9 minus 36 is a negative 27 square roots of 10. And that's our answer on that one. Next problem is 22, same type problem. Here we go. The 2, we're taking the first one times the first one. 2 times 5 times this 5 is 10. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2. That is a pair of 2's, which is 1, 2, and 2 times 10 is 20. Now take the first one times the last one. Well, it's 2 in front times 6 is 12 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 3 is a positive 12 square roots of 6. There's 6. Now we take the two middle ones. It's 4 times 5 is 20. Square root of 3, square root of 2. So it is a negative. This is a negative 4 here. That's a negative 20. So it's negative 20 square roots of 6. And then take the last one, this one, times the last one here. Negative 4 times 6 is a negative 24. And the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. That's a pair of 3's, which is a single 3. So it's a negative, and 24 times 3 is 72. Like terms. First one is 20 minus 72 is a negative 52. And then the two middle ones are both square roots of 6. They're the same, so I can add them. What is 12 minus 20? Is a negative 8. And you keep the square root of 6. So there's our answer for number 22. Number 23. Now, another kind of problem. We have radical signs. We have radical signs. We have a radical sign in the problem here. We have to get this radical sign by itself. So I have to get rid of this 2 by subtracting 2 from both sides. The 2's cancel. That leaves me the square root of 5x minus 1 equals 5 minus 2 is 3. I don't want the square root sign. I get rid of the square root sign by squaring them. I square here, and I square here. Whenever I'm squaring the square root, these here cancel out. Square root and square cancels. What's inside does not cancel, so the 5x minus 1 stays. Radical's gone, square's gone, equals 3 squared is 9. Solve for x. Plus 1, plus 1. So 5x equals 10. Divide by 5. X equals 2. Now, this should be my answer. We're supposed to check the answer and make sure it checks out okay. So we go in here, we got 5 times 2, we're replacing the x with a 2 right there, minus 1 in the square root. Well, 5 times 2 is 10, minus 1 in the square root equals 9 in the square root, so that's a 3, plus 2 equals 5. It checks. Okay, I missed problem 23. I must have skipped from 22 to 24. So here's problem 23. Again, first I have to get rid of this, get the radical sign by itself, so I add 1 to both sides. They cancel. I have the square root of 2x plus 3 equals 3. I square both sides. The square root of the square cancels. That leaves me 2x plus 3 equals 3 squared here is 9. Subtract 3 from both sides. The 3's cancel. I have 2x equals 9 minus 3 is 6. Divide by 2. X equals 3. Double check it. Put a 3 here. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 3 is 9. And the square root of 9 is 3. So this becomes 3 minus 1 equals 2. And of course 3 minus 1 is 2 equals 2. So it checks. So my answer is 3. Now, 24, we're up to 25. 25 is the same problem, except we have a radical on both sides. It doesn't matter. To get rid of a radical sign, I square both sides. So I am going to square this side and this side, which means the square root and the square are going to cancel. On this side, leave the x plus 5 equal to. On the right side, the square root and the 2 cancels, leaving me 2x plus 2. Now I simply solve this. I'm going to take the 2x over to this side. I'm going to take the 5 over to this side. I want the letters on the left, numbers on the right. So I want the letters on the left, so the 2x goes left by negative 2x, negative 2x. The 5 goes to the right, minus 5, minus 5. They cancel. The 2x's cancel. Here, 1 minus 2 is a negative x equals, over here, 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Divide by negative 1 on both sides. The negatives cancel, and x equals 3. Does that check? Well, if I put 3 here, what's 3 plus 5? 8. So the left side is the square root of 8. On this one, put 3 here. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is the square root of 8 here. They're the same, so the problem checks. Number 26. Again, 2 radicals, 1 on each side, square both of them. Square and the square roots cancel. I have a negative 4 minus x equals 2x plus 14. I'm going to move the 2x over. I'm going to move the 4 over. To get rid of the 2x, I go minus 2x, minus 2x. To move the 4, I go plus 4, plus 4. The 2x minus 2x cancels. The plus 4, the 4's cancel. Here, negative 1x, negative 2x is negative 3x equals 14 and 4 is 18. Divide by negative 3. Negative 3's cancel. So x equals a negative 18 divided by 3 is 6. Check it out. The square root of 4 minus, this is negative 4 minus x is negative 4 minus negative 6. A double negative cancels, becomes positive. So it's negative 4 plus 6, which is the square root of 2. On the other side, I've got 2x plus 14 inside. The x is negative 6. So it's 2 times, right there is 2 times negative 6. So it's negative 12 plus 14. 14 minus 12 is the square root of 2. They're equal, right there. They check. Negative 6 is the right answer. Okay, number 27, completing the square. It says completing the square. So remember, to complete the square, the x's, all the x's stay on the left. Anything that does not have an x has to go to the right. So the 40 has to go to the right. So I add 40 to both sides. And the 40's cancel. So now I have x squared plus 2x, leave a space, equals 40 and 8 is 48. Now, we need to find this number. The number we're going to put there. To do that, I take this number, the one number in front of x, bring it over here, 2. Always divide by 2. Top doesn't matter. You always divide. You take this number here, this one, bring it over, and always divide by 2. In this case, 2 over 2 is 1. Square it. 1 squared is 1. This number goes in the box here, plus 1, and over here, plus 1. You have to add this 1 to both sides. Now, then I put a parenthesis squared. How do we get x squared? Well, I need x squared, x times x. How do I get 1? 1 times 1. This middle sign goes in here, which you do every time. Equals 48 plus 1 is 49. Now, this is the same as the last time, but it's backwards. This time I have a squared. I don't want it. I want to get rid of the squared. So I take the square root of this side and the square root of this side. Why do I take the square root? Because the square root and square cancel each other out. and I'm left with x plus 1 equals, leave a space after the equal sign, and put plus and minus. It's always plus and minus, and what's the square root of 49? 7. Take the 1, subtract 1 here, subtract 1 here. They cancel. So I have x is equal to a negative 1 plus 7 and a negative 1 minus 7. This here goes right there, but I have to separate the plus and minus. So it's negative 1 plus 7 is 6, and negative 1 minus 7 is, comma, negative 8. And those are the two answers. That's completing the square. Here's another one. Again, the 84 has to go to the other side. So it's x squared plus 8x, leave a space, equals, you have to add 84 to both sides, so it's 84 on the right with the space on the left. Take the 8, this one, bring it over here, divide it by 2, gives me 4, square it, that gives me 16. Take the 16 and add it here and here. I have a trinomial now. I put 1 parenthesis squared. How did I get x squared? X times x. How did I get 16? What's the square root of 16? 4. Middle sign stays. Equals, what's 84 plus 16? 100. I don't want the square root of the square, so I take the square root of both sides. Square root and square cancels, leaves me x plus 4 equals, what's the square root of 100? Plus and minus 10. Subtract 4 on both sides, they cancel, so this is x, this is my answer. Take this and go negative 4 plus 10 and negative 4 minus 10. Plus and minus 10, right there it is. So what's negative 4 plus 10? 6. What's a negative 4 negative 10? Negative equals negative 14. And those are the two answers that work in this problem. That's problem 28. Almost done. Number 29. It says use the quadratic formula. Okay? Remember the quadratic formula? X equals negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now you need that written down, so if you haven't written it down, write it down before you go on to the problem. Stop the problem and write it down. I'm going to erase it. Well, we'll try to, because it's in my way. Okay, now what do we do? Well, 1, we have to get rid of this. So I have to take and use FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is a negative 5x. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times 5 is a negative 20. Also, move this number, we want a 0 on the right for this part. And when you use the quadratic formula, it has to equal 0. So I'm going to take this 18 and move it over, which makes it a positive 18 on this side. I have to add 18 to both sides. Equals 0. So now let's rewrite this. It's x squared. That's this one. These two are like terms. They can be put together. A negative 5 plus 1 is negative x, negative 1x. And negative 20 plus 18 is a negative 2 equals 0. Right? A equals, B equals, and C equals. What is A equal to? 1. What is B equal to? B is the number, if this is A here, this is B in front of X. So that's a negative 1, and C is the number that doesn't have an X, so that is a negative 2. Now fill the formula. X equals negative b. Don't say negative b, say the opposite of b. Look at b. What's the opposite of a negative 1? Positive 1. Plus and minus. Square root. What's inside the square root? First is b squared. Well, what is the negative 1 squared? Say positive 1. Plus and minus 4ac. Put plus and minus 4, put parenthesis, and now multiply a times c. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. All over 2 times a. 2 times a is 2. Now work inside the radical sign. This is 1 plus and minus 4. I'm sorry, that's not a plus or minus, it's just the minus. That's a minus 4. All right, so it's 1. What's a negative 4 times negative 2? Plus 8. What's 1 plus 8? 9. What's the square root? These are square roots. What's the square root of 9? 3. So this is now 1 plus and minus 3 over 2. What's 1 plus, forget the minus, what's 1 plus 3? 4 over 2 is 2. There's an answer. Then forget the plus sign, use only the minus. 1 minus 3 over 2. That's a negative 2 over 2, which is a negative 1. And that's your second answer. 2 and negative 1. That is doing a problem using quadratic formula. Let's do one more, same basic problem. Use FOIL. First times first is x squared. Outside times outside is negative x. The 2 inside is a positive 2x. And the last one times the last one is a negative 2. Minus 10. I'm going to take the 10 and move it in here, change the sign. So I have x squared. Combine these two. 2 minus 1 is positive x. And then negative 2, negative 10 is negative 12. Equals 0. A, B, and C. A is equal to 1. B is equal to 1. And C is equal to negative 12. So what is x equal to? The opposite of B. Well, B is positive 1, so the opposite is negative 1. Plus and minus the square root of. What is B squared? B squared is 1. Minus 4 times A times C. 1 times a negative 12 is a negative 12. Over 2 times A, which is 2. Go back inside, it's 1. Negative 4 times negative 12 is a positive 48, which is a 49. Square root of 49 is 7. So the radical sign works out to be 7. So x is negative 1 plus and minus 7 over 2. So I have negative 1 plus 7 over 2. Negative 1 plus 7 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Negative 1 minus 7 over 2. Negative 1, negative 7 is negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. And there's problem 30, and that's all of them. Good luck studying. I'll see you Thursday night. Good luck on your test. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.